Come along and suffer with me, nerds. All you're gonna need is a unit from before 2017's November update, and, well, you're just gonna need to do a few adjustments. Perfect, there you guys go. All will become clear, like right now. Hey, nerds! Man, it's hard to believe that this was an average build back in 2017. Nearly a year ago, this was what your typical staff unit was. And let me just tell you, it wasn't fun. So it's a bit of a story time, nerds. So we're gonna take you back a year, and we're gonna dive into the past to give you a better idea of how things change, and honestly, what I feel is probably some of the more gracious and amazing moments that IS has done that really prove to me that later on, I think we're going to be in safe hands. So I hope you guys will sit tight and just listen to me, okay? Alright, so while we're time traveling, let's set the scene, shall we? 2017, October. So what's the landscape at this point? Well, Horse Emblem's still quite a big thing. Also, Ira just recently came out and caused a huge firestorm. God, thinking about all those times back then, such small things comparatively. We were also about to go into our first Halloween banner, which at the time would introduce 2 ranged armored units, which was something we had not seen. The memories, but you know what? None of that really matters because that's not what we're talking about. No, instead, while we could be talking about the craziness of the meta that was going on, we needed to talk about the 2 unit types that were kind of getting screwed. This is a story about how one update can change all of that around. In October of 2017, chances are there were 2 unit types that you just did not touch. Staves and daggers. Up to this point in 2017, Fire Emblem Heroes had been sticking to a general idea of what they wanted these 2 units to be, and that was to be debuffers. They were meant to go in, attack an enemy, apply a detrimental effect, and, you know, just kind of support the team. It's reflected in their weapons as well. If you ever look at any of the weapons that came out from before November 2017 when it comes to staff and dagger, you'll notice that their might is exceedingly low, and it was something that was not helping their situation at all. Add to the fact that staff units have a natural half damage when they deal things without an actual B skill slot that will reverse it, it just causes more problems. Then there are the debuffs, and debuffs were supposed to be the biggest core portion of both of these unit types. The problem was, during this session of the game, their debuffs were not doing the job. The debuffs on the weapons were fine, but the issue was that they just did not seem to be relevant enough to actually bring along. They were single target, there was no AoE concept to that outside of maybe on one dagger, and even then, from there, it just kind of compounded. Add to the fact that a few months prior, we actually got introduced not only to smokescreen skills, which meant that you could equip these abilities that would debuff other units on units that were actually able to do a lot more damage. This led to a lot of people asking, why bother with these weapons at all when we can just attach these abilities to other characters and get the same results? But staff units are doing alright, right? Right, you may ask? You know, they can still do the other thing that they need to do rather well, and that's heal. Well, not quite. A lot of the abilities that were in the base game when it came to the assist skills that healers have were kind of hit or miss. And some of the times they were not very powerful at all. It actually got to the point that a lot of people were not actually running healers in battles, and instead were running units that had things like renewal and reciprocal aid, because more often than not, you wanted a unit that could actually fight back a bit more than a simple debuff. And I think that really says a lot about the meta at the time. There just was no spot for these units. So what exactly happened that really changed a lot of these perceptions that came with these units? Well, that all came in November. .0 comes roaring in, and everyone is super excited, but there's also a lot in there that I have never thought I would actually see in this game. I was jaded at this point when it came to 2.0, and I was almost certain that the fixes to staff units and dagger units would not be simplistic, and it would not be an easy way for free-to-play users to take advantage of. I was sorely, sorely mistaken.
Staves! That's right! Staff users are getting a boost. Each and every hero that uses a staff will be able to learn new skills at 5 stars.
Yep, just as Faye said it right there, all of the staff units before this point that were added into the game were getting a revamp. They were all getting 2 new abilities, a new weapon and a new assist skill that should allow them to be more beneficial to party members. This was the first time I've actually ever seen IS go back into the game and add something to a character that you already have. Chances are a lot of you probably had a staff unit that became a lot more valuable from this. But that's not even including the bigger picture that came with it too. Now sure, for staff units at the time, chances are you probably were like, wow, that's great, new might and all this other fun stuff, but there was more to that than you could ever imagine. They also included the weapon refinery, which was one of the biggest adjustments they had made into the game at this point. It's also one of my favorite adjustments because it allows earlier characters to shine a little bit more with these really neat, refined weapons. Seriously, this was the age of the razzle-dazzle. And with refinements, daggers also got a bit of love as well. Namely, when you refine the weapons that came out before this, they jumped in might, and they added additional effects that were very, very necessary for these units to at least make a little bit more of a dent on the meta. But why does this matter, you may be asking me? Because other companies would not have been so kind. Other gacha companies may instead have went, we don't need to worry about that, let's just throw a plus onto something and put it on another character and they can just summon for it and then inherit it. Yeah, we'll make lots of money that way, right? You know, kinda like what they're doing right now. Instead, IS went the higher route and gave a bunch of upgrades to people for free. That is something I was not expecting, and that is something that I think at least we can take a bit of that and see that they are reacting to our criticisms and critiques. They're trying to put it out there. That is probably a big enough reason as to why staff units are where they are now. In essence, this is all a roundabout way of saying it. You caused Veronica. You made this happen. You did it. You! Our complaints about staff units, and in some ways dagger units, did push them forward in the meta. And sure, IS does make some boneheaded moves. They do fall down occasionally. This happened last year as well, and it's happened again this time. Sure, I'm not so happy about some of the power creep, but I think we can all just take a little bit of a lesson here and think, well, not everything's going to be negative. They have done a really great job with a lot of the adjustments. So just sit back and think about 3.0. Think about the possibilities that could be there. Maybe we'll have another healer-like situation. But either way, I'm really excited to see where this all goes. I hope this kind of gives you a little bit more of an idea of what we've been working with, how things change in just a little over a year, and how much craziness we might have in the year ahead. So, yeah, that's about it for now, nerds. What do you think's gonna be happening? In the meantime, well, thanks for watching. As always, if you can, feel free to leave a like. Maybe check out some of my other videos. It's all fun and dandy. So, catch you nerds later. Thanks for watching.